Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new live stream. Make sure you guys like that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, what a useless, boring debate that was. You probably didn't even know it was happening, did you? Fox News hosted a debate between Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis, and it went just about as a lot of people could have expected it. I will say Gavin Newsom made a fool out of himself for sure. Nobody's going to deny that, but Ron DeSantis didn't exactly shine either. It's like, oh, you're debating a record compared to another record. If you don't walk out of there with any semblance of a victory, you're kind of failing. And I felt DeSantis, when he was talking, the things he was saying were accurate by and large. It's not like what he was saying was inaccurate or wrong. But then again, he did come off a little awkward. And when he wasn't talking, half the time he looked like he was on drugs. And you could say, well, that's an ad hominem attack. And it's just like, no, it's true. You can deny it. You can be in denial about it. You could ball wash for your boy. It's not going to make any difference at the end of the day. He's not going to go out there and beat Donald Trump. He's down by 48% in the polls and counting. One of the few one-liners that Gavin Newsom got in there that were actually relatively solid was the fact that he was poking fun at DeSantis not doing so well in the polls. And that was pretty much about it. I really felt as if Newsom is overrated. I admit I overrated him. I thought he would come off a little bit more personable. I thought he would pivot a little bit more to the center and in a very sociopathic way. He didn't do that. He came off insufferable. He came off evasive, slick, like a total scumbag, which he is. And as a result, didn't really help him. I feel like there's a reason why Joe Biden is not being replaced, because you have all the people that are saying Biden's going to be replaced by Newsom. And it's like, I understood if they were going to be saying that a year ago. But we're past the filing deadlines for many of the primaries and caucuses already, to the point where if Biden is going to be replaced, he would be replaced by now. He absolutely would have been replaced by now. And we know that there'd be other people in the running. And you could say, well, what if they replace him at the convention? I mean, we thought the same thing could have happened back in 2020. It never happened. Everyone, it's the equivalent of, is Hillary going to run back in 2019? She never ran. She teased a run. Newsom's not even teasing a run. He's answering. He's saying, I will not run. Some people are saying if Biden drops out, he's being evasive there. I don't think Biden's going to drop out. He's already filed paperwork. He's on the ballots. And if you replace somebody at the convention and they start a campaign in August or September or whenever of 2024, it's not going to go well for them. There's a reason why the primary season is so important. That's when the campaign season starts. And if you have late primaries like you do in Arizona, like you do, for example, in New Hampshire, it's going to be harder to win those states if you have a crowded primary field. And we saw that on many fronts in 2022. But either way, you're looking at this and it's like, no, Newsom does not really have what it takes. Ron DeSantis, for other reasons, does not really have what it takes. His campaign is going to use this as a major victory for him. It's like you have the facts right in front of you. You're reading off a fact sheet. You're absolutely correct that Florida is doing better than California in most metrics. The only metrics that it's really not would be the insurance crisis, which Newsom is such a moron that he didn't even address it, because if he ran with that and he milked that statistic and those statistics the whole way, he probably would have performed a lot better against DeSantis. But he couldn't. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He dropped the ball on his front. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people aren't even watching. It's not like it's going to move the needle. And the fact that people think it's going to move the needle prove how terminally online that the DeSantis influencers, the DeSantis campaign are, because it's not moving the needle. Just like all these other things were supposed to move the needle. A lot of people don't care. The primary is pretty much settled. We will see voting. Voting will take place in January. It will take place in February, March. Probably by then it's going to be over. By then it's going to be done. But either way, you're looking at the big picture. Nationally, Trump up by 50. Iowa, Trump up by 30. South Carolina, he's up by 30. And these other states like Texas, Michigan, even Florida, DeSantis' home state. And this is one of the things Newsom said that I will agree with during the debate. Ron DeSantis is down by like 45 points in Florida against Trump. And it's true, because he just cannot really come across as relatable to a lot of people. It's like, did he perform in the debate better than I thought? I think it was more Newsom performing worse than I thought than DeSantis performing better. I mean, you could go back and watch DeSantis's debates against Gillum, against Charlie Crist, against the whole Republican field that we've seen for 3 debates in a row. He was not the star. He did not shine. And tonight, I wouldn't say that he shined, but I think that Newsom kind of got exposed. But I think that partially it was just how evasive he was. He would not answer any single question. And there was so much subject matter that came out of that debate that was not looking good for Gavin Newsom. He would not commit to banning, partial birth, late-term abortions, which that's disqualifying in my book. It should be for a lot of people if they understand that just basic biology. But it went a little bit deeper than that. I mean, the fact that he was trying to defend certain books in schools that DeSantis, like, he pulled out the pocket pornography, which was admittedly a little bit weird to show on TV. But the fact that Newsom was going out there, sidestepping it, just defending it, lying about it. Newsom is a snake. He is a snake. He is he's dollar store Patrick Bateman, basically. And he doesn't have the charisma that I thought he would bring to the table. I've seen clips of his interviews, even with Sean Hannity, who moderated it, and he did a lot better. But on the stage, he was grandstanding. You could tell he didn't really he was just having fun with it, maybe you could say. Maybe he didn't want to be there. Obviously, it doesn't really make a difference. It kind of proves he's not running for president, because if he was running, he probably would have performed a little bit better than he performed. So that's pretty much what it is. And you're looking at this, like I said, Newsom 2024. It's not going to happen. Democrats, I think some of them want it to happen because they know Biden's not beatable. But even if Newsom 2024 does happen, I don't believe that he's going to go out there and beat Donald Trump, just because of the fact that the replacement process in and of itself would be kind of a disaster. It would be a big mess. And I don't know how you could say the fallout from that would be, but usually if you're starting a campaign that late, it's not exactly going to work out too well. I can't really see it happening, and I can't see it being a positive thing whatsoever. Just like if Donald Trump were to win the nomination, and let's say he gets convicted, the RNC throws out all of his delegates, gives the nomination to DeSantis. DeSantis is going to get absolutely cooked by Biden if that were to happen. Not saying he would beat Biden even if he won the nomination fair and square, because the divisive primaries definitely will come back to bite you in many regards, especially as this primary is not exactly... It's not exactly been the cleanest primary. It was not as ugly as 2016, but you had 2 divisive primaries back in 2016. 2020 on the Dem side was relatively unified. Everybody dropped out. And honestly, for the Republicans, if Donald Trump wins the primary and he wins it by the margin, he's winning the polls by now, I don't think it's going to be all that divisive. I think you could look at that and you're just going to see it as, oh, well, Newsom said this and he's right. Another Newsom accuracy from the debate. He said in a few weeks' time, or in weeks' time, you're going to be dropping out and endorsing Donald Trump. And I think it's true. I think that even though it seems like the primary, everybody's like at each other's throats, DeSantis is going to be in the meme that we saw Ted Cruz 2016 making calls for Donald Trump in October. That's going to be Ron DeSantis for sure. I mean, they'll make up. It'll be this whole ordeal, and all these DeSantis grifters on social media will join the Trump bandwagon. Make no mistake about it. It's how it is. It's politics. Same thing. You saw a lot of Bernie bros endorse Biden or endorse Hillary Clinton back in 2016. It's the same exact concept. You're going to see it on the Republican side. Everybody's going to rally behind the nominee. Make no mistake about it, which is why this primary is just a charade. It's just divisive. It's dumb. It's not as divisive as it would be if it was actually competitive. So, and if you follow me on social media, I guess everybody knows at this point what I do is we just laugh. It's laughing at these people because we get a lot of people on both sides, the Trump people, DeSantis people. They say, why are you spending so much time and energy on DeSantis if you know he's not a threat? And it's because we like to laugh. We like to laugh at these people. They're delusional. I call them the delusion team. Delusion, capital D, capital L. That's what you have. So DeSantis going out there and basically saying, well, Florida's doing better than California, repeating the same lines that he's been saying, which again sounded maybe 20% more natural than his debate lines. I guess we'll give credit where it's due because we're objective here. It just wasn't enough to move the needle per se. Not like it would have even if he completely steamrolled Gavin Newsom. But Newsom steamrolled himself. That's kind of the way it was. And Newsom was talking most of the time, and it just came off as ridiculous. And he tried to pander a lot to his far left base in a way where he wasn't really winning over the median voter during that debate, which in turn definitely made him look worse. And I don't know if that's how he'd perform in a general election debate stage, but nevertheless, it is something that didn't really make him look good. I felt like he would have performed a little bit better, but then again, DeSantis performed exactly how I thought he would. And when he wasn't talking, he was just like dancing around all over the place. He came off as awkward, looked like he was on drugs, like he was on Molly, like he was on Quaaludes, you name it. He was just like, what is he even doing? He just looked out of place like a deer in the headlights most of the time. And that's going to be a problem because if you're going to be dealing with people on the world stage, you're going to be dealing with the far left, the media, and you're not going to have your note card all the time on the spot to read out the prepared attack lines. Not going to exactly work out too well for Ron DeSantis, but nevertheless, is what it is. It is what it is. So the debate that nobody watched, most people were watching Thursday Night Football, and I can't exactly blame them. Some people are probably still watching it because that game apparently is actually exciting, unlike the DeSantis-Newsom debate, unlike most other primetime NFL games this year. So whatever. It is what it is. If the DeSantis people want to claim this is some big victory, okay, you went out there on the debate stage and Gavin Newsom made a fool out of himself. If you want to consider that a victory, by all means, have at it. But it's not going to make any difference come primary time. It's not going to move the needle. It's like, wow, you're a better governor than Gavin Newsom. Wow, really? Like, that's the bar you're setting for your campaign. You're a better governor than one of the worst governors in the entire country. Okay? I mean, you're still going to lose to Donald Trump by 50 points, so have at it. So, okay, whatever. Like, yeah, Newsom's an awful governor. We know that. It doesn't change anything. It's like, is this moving the needle? Not really, but okay. Whatever. On to the other topics. We will be talking about 2024. We'll be pivoting on the whole primary because you still have the Ron DeSantis campaign outside of whatever debate took place on Fox News. And his campaign is in shambles. It's still in shambles. He's down by almost 50 in the aggregate. Donald Trump at 62%. He's at 62. Some polls he's at 68. That's more than 2/3 of the primary electorate. He's unifying the party. He's consolidating the Republican base behind him. And it's working. The left is coping. The left is making excuses for Biden because Trump's also beating Biden by a couple of points. And I'm not saying we're going to take it for granted. I'm not saying Trump is not going to have to work for it. He's absolutely going to have to work for it. This is not a campaign that, you could sit around and not change Republican strategy and have Trump go out there and win. Not how it works. We need to chase every ballot. 2022 could be a great thing if it lights a fire up under the rear ends of every Republican voter and every Republican strategist, activist, you name it, to go out there and chase those ballots, get it done. And if we do that, guess what's going to happen? We are going to win in 2024. And 2022 will be looked at as a learning curve, but we'll see how much of that learning curve will actually be applied in reality. There's so many people in GOP leadership that are still awful, that still don't get it. We understand that, but still Democrats, they're not world beaters either, and they are starting to take things for granted a little bit, in my opinion, and I think that could come back to bite them in the rear end. But still, I mean, they know they're in trouble, by and large. That's why they're trying to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. That's why they're trying to put Donald Trump behind bars. But still, is it even going to matter at the end of the day? They convict Trump. Is he for sure? Is he for sure going down? Probably not. Probably a much lower chance of that happening than a lot of people think. I mean, he's basically been raked over the coals as a criminal who's been indicted on dozens upon dozens of counts, all of which are bogus, by the way. But still, you're looking at it, it's not moving the needle. Ever since the mugshot, Donald Trump has gone up in the polls by 3 percentage points in the popular vote against Joe Biden. I mean, you can't exactly deny the change in the climate. There is a climate shift going on. Donald Trump is rising. Joe Biden is falling. Ron DeSantis in the primary polls, he's a non-factor. The donors are flocking to Nikki Haley. And then the DeSantis people are going out there. They're so delusional that they're saying Donald Trump is in bed with Nikki Haley because of the fact that Nikki Haley is not like dropping out and endorsing Ron DeSantis. Like, seriously, this is how these people think. They're not the best and brightest. They're really not. Of course, Haley is in it for her own interest. That's why she's in it. She wants to position herself as the one to take on Donald Trump. So does Ron DeSantis. They're both in this race for the same reason. Neither of them are going to get the nomination. Neither of them will. They can have as many JV squad debates that they want. Vivek will be out there. He'll be attacking Nikki Haley. Haley and DeSantis will be going at it. It's just a mess. It's a big mess. DeSantis is down there at 13.6. Where are the polling bumps that we were supposed to see? The announcement bump, we were supposed to see that. The Trump got indicted bumps, were inverse bumps actually. We were promised, the Trump attacked Kayleigh McEnany bump would be happening. Yeah, how did that go? How did he got the Kim Reynolds endorsement bump go in Iowa? He lost support in the process. Didn't save him. Where's the Bob Vander Platypus, whatever that guy's name is, completely irrelevant political activist that every primary or contested primary candidate he endorses, they lose the nomination. They win Iowa. Doesn't matter. DeSantis is going to lose both for the record. So you're looking at that across the board. Debate polling bumps never came. When is the Gavin Newsom debate polling bump going to be kicking in? It won't be. There's just no way. No way it's going to happen. He's going to be begging for more of these debates because he wants the exposure. He's still not going to get it. Donald Trump's campaign attacked him today. He basically called him an attention whore, for lack of a better term. And that's exactly how he's been behaving on the campaign trail. He's doing like 200 events in Iowa. It's like, if you are not running a state, that'd be impressive. But because you're running a state, you have a big insurance crisis going on. It's a problem. Not saying that Florida isn't doing well by other metrics, but there are metrics they're not doing so hot in. Gavin Newsom just didn't mention them tonight because Gavin Newsom's a moron and a grandstander and this bizarre sociopathic panderer to his own base. And he, occasionally took a shot at DeSantis coming from like an angle that Trump's base would think is pretty funny, which had happened a couple of times, admittedly. But still, DeSantis is in Iowa. It's not moving the needle. And focusing all of your energy and resources on one state never works. Let's say DeSantis goes out there. He loses Iowa by 5 or 10 points. All the resources, everybody gets behind DeSantis. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to move the needle whatsoever in the future states because that's where he spent all of his time and resources. He'll do worse in New Hampshire. The time between now and Iowa is a lot larger than the time between now and New Hampshire. I think DeSantis takes second in Iowa. He loses by 20. Trump goes out there and clears everybody in New Hampshire by 30, South Carolina by 30. DeSantis will be in second or third or fourth place in New Hampshire, possibly behind Chris Christie. He'll be in a distant third in South Carolina. He'll lose Nevada by a lot. Guy's not going to win a single state. We're on to the general election at this point. We'll obviously cover the next 45 or so days that we have between now and Iowa, but that clock is ticking. We had like less than 4 months to Iowa, not even 3 months ago. Now we have less than 2 months to Iowa, and it's like Trump's lead is gaining. He's gaining in Iowa. He's gaining nationally. He's got double the pledges for Iowa that anybody else has. I mean, folks, Book it. I mean, we've already been saying this for months, but we were told that DeSantis still has a shot. We're still told DeSantis still has a chance, but Trump has no chance in the general election. But Trump's up by 2. I know polls can be wrong, but Trump can't win despite being up by 2. He can't win. We got to nominate somebody else. That's what they say. And then the same exact people will turn around and say the guy down by 50 points is still going to win, or he still has a chance. And they will make excuse after excuse after excuse for the guy. Doesn't matter. And I haven't even really seen any Nikki Haley supporters. I don't know who exactly is backing her. I would assume it's a lot of like normies in the real world who see like commercials and like probably are not like Trump first voters. They still might be, obviously they're going to be open to him in a general, probably don't like Biden. They'd still vote for Trump. But I mean, Nikki Haley, she's a disaster. She's a neocon. She's getting the Koch brothers funding, the Koch brothers endorsement from their firms. And the money definitely might help her a little bit, but she's going to get cooked by Trump regardless. I mean, all these people, at this point, there's no reason for anybody else to really be in this race other than to get humiliated. And they're exactly going to get humiliated. And the aggregate still is polling from, when Tim Scott was in the race. A lot of his support in the recent polls went to Trump. Same thing with Mike Pence, ironically enough. That support went directly to Donald Trump. And as more people drop out, Vivek Ramaswamy, Doug Burgum, I mean, those supporters, lion's share of them probably also go to Donald Trump. I think all of Vivek's, at least 80% of Vivek's support, if not higher. Burgum, I don't know why you'd be supporting Burgum. Maybe you live in North Dakota. Trump's going to win that primary by a lot too. So Donald Trump is the favorite. So what do they have to do? They have to lie about Donald Trump to make him look bad, to call him a fake conservative. That's what they have to do because they know they cannot win on their merit. So they have to lie. I would be lying my ass off. If I was down by 50 points, I would be coming up with lie after lie after lie because I would be desperate. And I wouldn't be down by that much if I was ever going to run for public office because I'm not a fucking moron. But let's be real here. If I was down by that much, I would be lying my ass off like you wouldn't even believe. I would just be coming up with lie after lie, trying to twist everything. And one little slip up, I would be running with it. And that's what they're doing. Because they're down and they're not going to win. And it wouldn't help me. It wouldn't help them. They're just causing division within the party. Donald Trump comes out. He gets an endorsement from a BLM leader, actually, a former BLM leader. I will say the guy's not like foaming at the mouth leftist BLM. He was a member of BLM who said that, back in 2020, he was saying, people, please be peaceful, peacefully protest. Yeah, the narrative is bogus. The guy believed the bogus narrative. He probably still believes a lot of the bogus BLM narrative. I'm not saying that I agree with the guy on everything, but Trump acknowledges his endorsement and they go bonkers, folks. They went insane. They were just going at Trump saying Trump supports BLM. And Trump kind of in his True Social post, I was not a fan of the way that he did this, for the record, because I will say this, if he wants to congratulate this guy's endorsement, I don't care. If he wants to say, spoke with Mark Fisher yesterday, great guy, honored to have his support, and then he leaves out the criminal justice reform bill, which sucked, that DeSantis praised as well, by the way. Yeah, leave out the criminal justice reform. If you ever, every once in a while say, I did this for this community. I did this for this community. Every once in a while, I don't care. It's fine. In fact, having that, level of outreach, keep it up. Throw a bone every once in a while. Not like every day. Like Trump back in 2020, he overdid with the Platinum Plan and all these other things that just did not help him with black voters. He gained with black voters. I do not believe it was because of the Platinum Plan or criminal justice reform. And I've critiqued Trump on that. When I was doing that back in 2020, a lot of the same people that are on Team DeSantis now were criticizing me for criticizing Trump and saying that I was being racist or whatever. But it's like true. I just analyze things the way they are. Criminal justice reform does not help anybody. Doesn't help Doesn't help anybody except for criminals, putting them back on the street. And yeah, there's some things in the bill that I might agree with. If you want to rehabilitate prisoners that can be rehabilitated and get them easier back in the workforce, I don't see a problem with that. I'd rather have them doing that and have an actual job than being on the street committing crimes or whatever. But still, that's not the point. The First Step Act did a lot of bad things, and those bad things need to be called out and reversed. And Trump's new platform on crime, Agenda 47, directly or indirectly reverses a lot of the bad implications that came out of that First Step Act. So you're looking at that there, and it's like, okay, he's already improved. He doesn't pander 24/7. I don't like the fact he said very honored to have BLM support. He doesn't have BLM support, though. So a lot of people, even people who don't like Trump, some of these Daily Wire hosts that don't like Trump were even saying that he was trolling them with that, possibly. And if that's true, that's true. It is what it is. I don't think that we need to have a temper tantrum after every single Trump Truth Social post where, okay, there might be part of it that's a little cringy. Because he's done so much recently regarding his messaging that's vastly improved, and the DeSantis people and all these other people are saying, well, you're like in an abusive relationship. It's like, no, I'm not. I just don't have to agree with every single position that a politician that I support has, because unlike the DeSantis dipshits, I'm not in a cult like they are. So take it or leave it. That's the way it is. You're looking at how the DeSantis campaign reacts to every little thing that Donald Trump does. He breathes wrong. They hit him with one of those zero days accident free, which they dropped because they kept getting ratioed because they were just god awful. But in reality, it's just like, okay, yeah, Trump gave them a little bit of ammunition with this post. I'm not the biggest fan of this post in its entirety, but to say, oh, Trump bad because he's acknowledging a new voter that is joining his base. It's like, okay, so long as this guy doesn't have any cringe policy that he's dictating Trump's policy, I don't care. If you want to have endorsements from people who disagree with you on certain policies, whatever. I mean, you're trying to build a coalition that can win. DeSantis saying, no, screw this guy, it kind of proves they're not like, they don't want new voters, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think that black voters are going to leave the Democrats. Okay, we're back. We're back. So what I was saying is that, certain polls within the black community, they show that their policies on the economy and policies on things like guns, they don't have the same worldview that a lot of conservatives have. Now, some do, but by and large, it doesn't seem like on the surface level, there's a lot of room for growth. It is true, though, that black voters do not like Biden a whole lot on aggregate compared to past Democrats, compared to other Democrats. Biden is struggling with black voters. He will struggle likely to turn them out in 2024 compared to 2020. What does that mean? It means that Donald Trump probably gains with voters in a place like Georgia or North Carolina's locked down, Texas is locked down, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. The path opens up a little bit more in those states. So the fact that you're looking at this and you're seeing, yeah, Biden's struggling with black voters, he's struggling with turnout, Democrats are indeed panicking, it shows that there's a problem. You could point to a midterm year, but even in the midterms, they, by and large, did struggle. Yeah, Beshear did well in his reelection bid. Tate Reeves struggled. Okay, Tate Reeves and Dan Cameron struggled with everybody. Face facts. Tate Reeves was an unpopular governor, and Andy Beshear was a popular governor. You can't use that. The one open race we had in Louisiana showed that Democrats severely struggled with black voters. They struggled with black turnout. And in many places in the midterms, they did. Republicans' problem was they had their own issues with their base turnout that I think Donald Trump would rectify, especially in a place like Pennsylvania or a place like Wisconsin or Michigan, where you did see, that some problems there. But either way, Trump probably gets 15% of the black vote, maybe 16% max. That's a good thing. That's a good result for a Republican. Younger black males are more open Okay, the internet went away again, but what I was saying is a lot of older black voters is gaining across the board with everybody. That's a good thing. Biden is struggling with everybody except college-educated white women who love him for some reason. It's not that, oh, Trump's cancer to these voters, because they approve of Biden. If Trump was the problem, they wouldn't be the demographic that was approving of Joe Biden and the job he was doing. So that's another thing a lot of these electabros and neocons don't fully understand about how elections and electoral politics in this country work. So you're looking at that there. A lot of stuff going on. Trump doing well in the polls. DeSantis, not so much. Other Republicans, not so much. Joe Biden, not so much. So without further ado, we have a lot of super chats that we're going to get to right now because I have not gotten to them yet, but we're going to get to them. It's the end of the month show. So everybody, any questions before the month is over, feel free to send a super chat. I will get to them during the show. Southern Folk election prediction says DeSantis beat Newsom, but this will have no effects on the election or primaries. DeSantis did much better than Newsom. Well, I don't disagree. I mean, it's not going to have an effect. Newsom made a fool out of himself, took positions that were indefensible, and didn't really look like he wanted to be there. DeSantis spent a lot of time hyping this up, practicing for it. I mean, it was obviously going to be something he's going to try to use to his advantage, but it's not going to move the needle, folks. It's not moving the needle in the primary, not moving the needle in a general. I mean, that's the way it is. Johnny Heartdog says, please make an election prediction video based on Newsom v. Trump. I think they may replace Biden with Newsom, and I think he might have a chance at beating Trump. Well, we already kind of covered that earlier in the show. I don't think they have time to, and even if they do find a way to replace him, it's just going to be a little too late to really give the guy too much of a shot. So Reconquest of Democracy says, God bless you, young men. You have an amazing future ahead. Well, thank you. I tend to agree. I agree. Caleb Arbor says, if Carrie Lake wins at 24, do you think that could help turn the state around, assuming she's a good senator? I mean, probably not for Arizona, the state. I think it'd be a good thing if she wins. I think it'd be good for the country. But the policies she'd be voting on would affect me wherever I'm at just as much as it would affect the average voter in the state of Arizona. So yeah, I think that her winning would be good. She should win. She is my endorsement. But I don't think that that will single-handedly turn around Arizona because a lot of that change does matter at the state level 100%. Now, change that's positive at the national level can be good for everybody. Obviously, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but just for like, this will turn the state around if we elect a better senator, not entirely how it works in and of itself. Not as much, at least, in terms of the influence. Real Texan Politics says DeSantis in this debate compared to the other shows that some people are meant for certain positions more than others. I mean, yeah, and both of these people don't look like they belong in the national stage, which is why I do believe that Newsom's a little bit overrated unless he just didn't have a good night, didn't have the best performance, but he was just making a fool out of himself. Like I said, he got in the one-liners against DeSantis, falling behind Trump in Florida, not being the nominee for president. Like, yeah, those were funny and entertaining, but that was like not even 1% of the entire debate. The guy didn't do well objectively. He was so evasive, he wouldn't answer a single question. And DeSantis was evasive on one question that, honestly, Newsom asked him that is definitely showing that he's not good for his like general election viability, and that was the 6-week. He wouldn't answer if he would commit to doing a 6-week ban on abortion at the national level. Wouldn't answer. That's going to be used in advertisements. The left has been hammering that issue home. They've been winning on it. Do I think that DeSantis was wrong for doing that in Florida? No, I support any form of restriction we possibly can have. But the median voter, on the other hand, they live in a different reality. They live in a different world, a world that is depraved. I mean, that is the world we live in. We live in a world that doesn't have the same, moral fabric that it had 50, 60 years ago, when most people would say that any form of legalized abortion would be the horrifying thing to have. JD McSwag says DeSantis down but being 40 points behind in Ron's map or highlights. I mean, yeah, Newsom, his state and certain policies that are implemented there and the state of a lot of those cities is indefensible. I mean, the guy was going out there and he was saying, like, how dare you come for Los Angeles and San Francisco? These are great American cities. Meanwhile, he's going at Jacksonville. He's going at Miami. He's going at Tampa. He's going at all those cities. So he's a grandstander. It's exactly what he is. He's a sociopathic grandstander who kind of busted. He's a bust. Newsom's a bust. DeSantis is a bust. Not denying that, but so is Newsom. He didn't do as good as I thought he would do. I mean, the guy's basically a sociopath. He's a car salesman. He's a smooth talker usually, and he didn't do that well on the stage. He was evasive. He was not even being evasive in like a way, because like even Vivek, I like Vivek. He's not my first choice, but he could be evasive. You ask him a question, he's going to find a way to avoid the question in a very intelligent manner, to the point where a lot of voters aren't going to realize he's doing it. Now, I got a high IQ, all right? I could pick up on that stuff. A lot of people can't. But you look at when Gavin Newsom's out there doing it, it's like anyone with like a 90 IQ can pick up on that easily, without a doubt, without question. It's like, this is not good. Maybe it was a bad performance he had, but it was not the best performance. Johnny Hartdog says, you could expect a rise in unprecedented and unfettered wickedness this year. The establishment's desperate to stop Trump, and they will stop at nothing. Dangerous times ahead, pretty prepared. Can they even stop him? That's the real question. They will stop it. They already have stopped at nothing. They're trying to throw the guy in jail for literally nothing, and it's not working. They're making him more and more popular in the process. Biden is a disaster. Trump is in a pretty good position right now. Democrats are pulling out of Georgia. They're pulling funding out of Georgia. And people got really mad at me today on Twitter when I called out reality. You could read the New York Times. You could read other articles we've seen. They're all talking about Democrats conceding Georgia. You look at obviously the video that Fox News posted. They're interviewing people in a very red area. Nobody's denying that, yeah, your average white boomer in Georgia is going to vote for Trump. Everybody knows that. I mean, it also is kind of a dagger in the DeSantis campaign, if anything, because, yeah, if these type of people are just saying Trump, 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 DeSantis isn't winning a single one of these guys. Yeah, he's not getting the nomination whatsoever, usually. But you're looking at this, that it's like, yeah, they're giving up on Georgia because they're pulling funding. They've designated it a state in their second tier. They're focusing more energy on Pennsylvania, which Biden's not as popular in, Michigan, obviously they're going to do that, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin. That's their big five. And if they're abandoning Georgia, all Trump needs is Pennsylvania. He gets the White House. All Trump needs is Wisconsin and Arizona. The combination of those two, with obviously Nevada, throw that in the mix. Like, the path to the White House gets so much easier if you lock down the state of Georgia. It does. I mean, Georgia's trending to the left. It has been. Atlanta's grown out of control. But like I said, it does tie into the black voter apathy, because demographics in metro Atlanta, it's not like your white suburbs as much as people think. Like, the percentage of the metro Atlanta area that is non-Hispanic white is below 50%. And I think that blacks and Hispanics combined are close to a majority. And I'm not saying that they're going to flee the Democrats and vote for Trump. I mean, some of them will, but majority, I think there's just apathy against Biden. And that apathy just existing helps out Donald Trump quite a bit. Because if that's your voter base that turned out big in 2020, and they don't turn out big in 2024, Georgia's going to be looking a lot more like 2016 Georgia or 2022 Georgia than 2020 Georgia. I think it'll look more like 2018 Georgia. It's like Republicans did well there in the midterms. Herschel Walker lost, but I mean, the guy got outspent 3-1, went up against an incumbent, couldn't complete a sentence. And even though he got the Trump endorsement, like, this is the thing with these people. He's a MAGA candidate, they say. Okay, he gets the Trump endorsement, but his campaign was no different than any other campaign in Georgia that won. He ran a very generic campaign. He was outspent. Scandals caught up to him. there were problems there. Other Trump-endorsed candidates down ballot, the AG candidate who endorsed David Perdue in the primary against Kemp, actually, I believe he outperformed Brian Kemp, or he ran in line with Brian Kemp. Burt Jones in an open race, he got outspent. He still won by over 5, and he was about as MAGA as you could get, like by actual definition. But those people apparently don't count. They don't matter for some reason. Oh, their races are lesser known. It still doesn't matter. If they're still performing in line with others, it proves that there's something else to electability than, oh, this guy was endorsed by Donald Trump. It's like Herschel had issues, but Trump endorsing him was not the issue. Trump stayed out of the runoff. Herschel did worse. So you read between the lines there. Seems like it was more of a Herschel problem than a Trump problem. I'm not saying Trump's guaranteed Georgia. I'm not saying they're not going to come back to Georgia. Not saying they're going to put it, zero funding into Georgia. But them putting Georgia lower on their list than they were in 2020, that's a good sign for Republicans. That means that even they know that it's going to be a harder state to go out there and win. And Brian Kemp saying he will endorse Trump if Trump's the nominee, that is also, in my opinion, a good sign. I don't like Brian Kemp, but having the governor of a state endorse you is never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing if they've got an approval rating in the mid to high 50s. So take it or leave it. Tucson PaleoCon for 10 says, best line from the night, neither one of us will be our party's nominee. I agree, because DeSantis doesn't have any one-liners. And Newsom, he sucks. Nobody's denying that, but he did have a little bit of a highlight reel. It was not a giant highlight reel. DeSantis' highlight reel involved the Herschel Walker routine using the props, which I'm not hating on it, by the way. I get it. Newsom sucks. He's a horrible governor. I think DeSantis is overrated. That's why part of the reason why I'm not supporting him for president. But is he a better governor than Gavin Newsom? Yeah, but it's beside the point. It's like, who cares? Being a better governor than Gavin Newsom is not some benchmark that if you clear that, you're instantly like this great candidate for president. I've been saying for years now, back to 2021, I've said, be cautious of this guy. Be wary of this guy. Just because you're a good governor does not mean you're going to be good at the national level. Because you're a good college football quarterback, does that mean you're going to be a star in the National Football League? Absolutely not. You could name countless examples of that not working out. It's the same exact concept. There's different issues that matter at the national level that were not talked about. There's different hurdles that you have to get over. And DeSantis just does not have the set of stones to really do that. Let's see. Maxwell JW says one of Trump's biggest issues is his current social media game, from witty remarks on Twitter to Truth Social schizo posts for Thanksgiving. Sad. I mean, I get this, but at the same time, he is doing well numbers-wise in the polls despite this. I think he should use Twitter for some things, but I think he wants to see more presidential. He'll use Truth Social for the more edgy posts, and his base will love it, but he's not going to get the same blowback. And that's the thing. He's not going to get the same level of blowback at the national level. And I'm sure when he gets back in the White House, yeah, he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to worry about re-election. That's the number one reason why I would say that his second term, I'm excited for it. So we'll see. Frisbee Champ says Republicans want to lose. I swear it's ridiculous. I don't know if you're coming from the angle of the we're nominating Trump side of things, or you're coming from the establishment Republicans like losing side of things, because the latter is definitely true. Also, do I look like Kirk Cousins? I mean, I take it as a compliment, but I don't think I look like Kirk Cousins whatsoever. But thank you, I guess. He's not a bad looking guy, but I just don't see it. Sam Mads, I got to get the big chain on. Is that what we got to do the next stream? I don't know. Sam Madsen says, in my opinion, Dems struggles turning out black voters recently is because they aren't energized by the Dems all abortion all the time. Yeah, I agree. I mean, black voters, they do support abortion. A majority of them do, but they don't support it as much as other Democrats do. They don't vote Democrat because, the abortions. Like a majority will support abortion, probably like 60, 70%. But still, you have a big segment of black Democrats who don't care about the issue. Some are even pro-life on the issue, but they vote Democrat for other reasons. Like, those are the voters I would say Trump would have a better shot with, but even then, a lot of them are boomers. A lot of those voters, regardless of where they are on the political spectrum, regardless of race, older voters are harder to move. A lot of your swing voters are Gen X. A lot of them are, older millennials that don't really fit the millennial stereotype. A lot of those voters are moving right, by the way. All Day Grind says, Trump lost, get over it. Go Chris. Okay, yeah, thank you. Haha, very funny. Red Politics 1776 says, thoughts on rumor of Ben Carson being Trump's VP. I saw one tweet on it. I don't see anything else. I like Ben Carson. Great immense respect for Dr. Carson. I can't picture Trump choosing him to be VP, though. I really can't see it. Carson, he's very soft-spoken, but he's also like almost as old as Trump is. I think Trump's going to go for somebody younger, somebody who is not like super charismatic per se, but is kind of like more in the I have political experience crowd. Not saying he's going to pick an establishment hack or somebody like Nikki Haley, like the DeSantis team, so, schizophrenically believes. But I can't see it being Ben Carson. I can't really see it being Carson. I mean, the guy's kind of been a little out of politics, and he's endorsed Trump, but I just don't really think he's going to go out there and be that guy who's going to be Trump's VP, Trump Carson. That was floated back in 2016, but I think Trump steered away from Carson because Carson happened to not also have a whole lot of political experience. And I guess that question mark doesn't matter as much now, but Trump is still seen as the outsider. I think he wants somebody who's more, politically knowledgeable to hit the VP position. Captain Beefheart says, who wins at a twerk off, Christie or Tate Reeves? Well, I think if Christie starts doing that, or even if he just takes a step, he's going to have a 9.2 magnitude earthquake take place, and nobody's going to be able to judge the winner. So I don't know if that makes him the winner or if it makes him the loser. Also, DeSantis is the Bryce Young of national politics. Well, he's short like Bryce Young, I'll tell you that much. He's a short guy. I mean, Bryce Young's young, and he doesn't have any help. He doesn't have any offensive line, and putting the guy out there, it's not a good thing to do the first year because you got to build a quarterback's confidence. And doing that to Bryce Young is going to stunt his growth even more. I don't know if he's going to be a full bust. Panthers sold the entire house to get the guy. It's not looking too good so far, but I mean, Bryce Young can recover. DeSantis can't. You could say 2028. I mean, the guy just doesn't have what it takes. You have to have the X factor. What you saw on the debate stage tonight, that was peak DeSantis. He prepared for months on this debate, and even then, I think Newsom made a fool out of himself, but I can't say, DeSantis, demolished him. I can't think of a single one-liner from DeSantis that's like, oh, well, this guy got him, other than, using the map or using the pocket porn, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. That's your post-Trump, Republican debate right there, or debate between Republicans and Democrats. It's like nobody wants to watch it. It's like, seriously, we need Trump in politics. We need him in the political sphere. And yeah, 2028, he's not going to be there. But whatever you're seeing in the DeSantis camp, you need somebody else in 2028. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe Tucker Carlson. He doesn't have the Fox job anymore. He'd be more inclined to run. I think he'd be on Trump's VP shortlist. If not, keep him around as an advisor. He went out there today, formally endorsed Donald Trump, even though he's basically been supporting him all this time, said he'd been supporting him for 2022. DeSantis campaign, they're calling Tucker. They say Tucker's a traitor. It's like, you're not entitled to anyone's endorsement. I mean, I never threw a temper tantrum because Kim Reynolds endorsed DeSantis. I said, okay, these people that are saying that this moves the needle and they're throwing a temper tantrum the other way are delusional. That's what I said. They're like, you're melting down. You're melting down because DeSantis got an endorsement of some Iowan evangelist that nobody has ever heard of or nobody cares about. And it's just like, I don't care. I just think it's funny that people think this is changing the game and moving the needle. I mean, their War Room account gets like a few hundred likes per post max. They're terminally online. All they have are their influencers who are insufferable, by the way. And all they do is like they get in these petty fights with other influencers on our side, and they try to make them out to be the bad guys. Like the average voter doesn't care if Laura Loomer posts something you didn't like on social media. It's like, get a hold of yourself. Seriously? I mean, I give credit where it's due. I don't agree with her on everything, but Laura Loomer at least has the guts to face these people in person, and they cower and they run away. And they're like, oh, she's crazy. It's like, no, you just like, you're pussies is what you are. You run scared. Even DeSantis on the debate stage tonight, he looked scared half the time. He looked like he's running scared. It was not what he was saying was wrong, because what he was saying was by and large just basic statistics. It's not difficult to do. But like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Nick the Enlightened said, well, Ron surprisingly did a lot better than I thought and did destroy Newsom. It is ultimately going to have little to no effect. Well, I think destroy is a strong word, but I agree. Newsom did not win that debate, clearly. He made a fool out of himself. Now, I will say it's not moving the needle on anything. Didn't hurt DeSantis, didn't help DeSantis either, and that's kind of the main problem. If something doesn't hurt you when you're polling it 13%, some polls you're in single digits, you're falling. This isn't going to stop the bleeding. It's not even a Band-Aid over a gaping hole, just air. That's what it is. It's just air. It's not moving anything. Real Texan Politics says, my theory about George is that Dems are giving up on it because Stacey Abrams isn't as... Yeah, she's not looked upon in a very high light. And Republicans doing well there in 2022, it's a good thing. Oh, well, the incumbent senator won re-election. Oh, big deal. Every incumbent senator in 2022 won re-election. Face facts. Herschel Walker, I have respect for him as a football player. I like the fact that he supports Trump, but it's not like he was the strongest candidate in the world either. If anything, it was more the opposite. I mean, the guy was Republican Fetterman. He was fun to watch. Fetterman's fun to watch, but it's like it's fun to watch for the same reason. It's like that's not moving the needle. He's talking about vampires. It's like, what is this guy talking about? Now, the difference is it's going to get plastered all over the media because Fetterman is coddled by the media and he can hide behind his medical conditions, which, by the way, I think it would have done worse if he didn't have the stroke, because then people wouldn't be able to excuse the stroke. I mean, the guy, you see him talking in the debate in the primary before he even had the stroke, it wasn't exactly much better. He was not this formidable candidate, but people were able to carry this facade about him. And even then, I think a lot of his margin of victory just stemmed from the fact that turnout wasn't good and Democrats spent a lot in the governor's race, and you had some down ballot effects that definitely helped him. I called the split between the two being 10% or so. I just didn't think it would be that bad for Mastriano, which I guess predictions were not the best for really anybody back in 2022. For some reason, I have to take all the blame. I guess it's because I don't support their $200 million sinking ship that the DeSantis campaign is running. Let's see. Captain Beefheart says, Ron stands no chance in 2028. We have a good bench. I agree. We have a good bench. We have a bench that's being built. You have Vance, you have Hall, you got Tucker, maybe Lake if she wins. I think if she loses, she's not going to really be a part of the bench. I don't know if she'd run, but maybe VP, who knows? Swing state, if she can, obviously the image, she's improving it. It's a good thing. Snips 127 says DeSantis governing in Florida with an all-Republican Congress is like Tom Brady being on a team with a top 5 defense his entire career. I mean, it's really like Brock Purdy. It's like this guy, you put him on any other team, he's not going to do so well. If you have a system quarterback and you win with a system quarterback, it's usually not because the quarterback is good in and of himself. DeSantis, I've called him the system quarterback governor. He's a system governor. I mean, a lot of governors... just basically, if you had competent people in general in a Republican Party, they could do every single thing that DeSantis has done that's positive within a week, not even within a day, within an hour. We don't have competent leadership because everything, yeah, even the state legislature, state politics, it's all broken. That's a problem. They don't get things done. A lot of Republicans are afraid of getting things done. They see getting things done as, oh, it's against the principles. It's against big government or whatever. It's like, no, not entirely. I mean, if you get everything done, you're going to have probably a smaller government that's more efficient. I think, one of the things I'll even agree with DeSantis on, I think a lot of it's hot air for policy because he's desperate. He's like, get rid of the ATF, get rid of the, I got the IRS and all these other things. Vivek, I think, was the first one to say it. DeSantis is just trying so hard. I mean, he has all these organizations, and Florida right now, it's not like he's going to even make any progress on removing them if he got to the national level, but it is what it is. Donald Trump got 70% of his campaign promises done within his first year. That's also true. There were plenty of promises that were not fulfilled, but you look at the Heritage Foundation scorecard, they tracked it. I mean, it is true. A lot of them were innocuous, but he still got a lot done in the time that he had, for sure. And he would have got a lot more done if he had better House leadership. I mean, Mike Johnson's not perfect. He's a hell of a lot better than Paul Ryan, that's for sure. You might get new Senate leadership. You're going to have the House if Trump wins. You're going to have the Senate probably. I mean, even if you don't pick up a single Senate seat, you're still going to have the Senate if Trump wins because you'll get West Virginia. I mean, that's an auto flip, especially now. And you're going to go out there, you're going to be able to have 50. You'll break the ties, but you don't want that because it's not a rhino-proof majority. But you get, I think they could go out there, easily pick up Ohio, Montana. I think Arizona's on the table. Some people will say no about Lake, but I think we have a long way to go. Hopefully you don't have a divisive primary. I think that that's what it's going to hinge on. Primary in Arizona, it's in August. If you have Mark Lamb hanging around 50-50 primary, very divisive, it's not gonna bode well for whoever wins it. But I think Lake could clear the field early. It'd be a good thing, just like how Hobbs got the nomination by default, just how a lot of Democrats are being competent. They're clearing the field. Daines has to do it. They'll make a deal. I don't know what Lamb's concession's going to be, but they'll make a deal. They'll find a way to go out there and they'll find a way to go out there and at least have a competitive race, if not win it. So that's 53. Then go get me Michigan. Go get me Wisconsin. Go get me, well, Pennsylvania, probably not. But Nevada. Nevada's more than winnable. I think if Trump takes Nevada, why isn't the Senate seat going to flip too? Down ballot effects, funding, and all these other metrics, candidate quality, they matter a lot less down ballot during a presidential year than they matter during a midterm year. And this is what I tell the elected bros. They don't understand because they're brain dead, but it's true. So let's see. Top dog obedience says Trump Flynn would be the most. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not going to realistically happen. Everybody talks about these like Trump confidants that are high profile. Put them on the ticket. It's probably not the most likely course of action. And the VP slot matters a lot less than people think. If he picks a little bit of a cringy VP, it's not the end of the world. It's like a backup quarterback. Your backup quarterback's not doing so well. It's like, okay, well, if they're not starting, what's the problem? I mean, hopefully you don't see too much policy grounds to them, but it's like, Pence, for the time being, was he the worst vice president in the world? He did things that I disagree with. He's awful now on a lot of different issues. He showed his rear end for what he is. Over the past few years, for sure, but it didn't really impact Trump's presidency outside of COVID, which I think was a big blunder, putting him in control of it. And that basically was what elevated all the people that the DeSantis campaign whines about. But nevertheless, you're looking at this, it's like, yeah, Trump puts, let's say, Nikki Haley as VP. I wouldn't like that. But if he puts like Kristi Noem out there, it's like, okay, not a fan of Noem, but you're probably going to get a better governor in South Dakota out of the ordeal. She has Midwestern appeal, whatever. Not a fan of it, but is it the end of the world? Not necessarily. Make no mistake about it. I've accepted the fact that I'm not thrilled with any serious potential VP. He picks Tucker, it's a little bit different, because Tucker, I think, does, even though he is somebody who's in the Trump camp, he has broad appeal to the everyday individual, more so than a lot of these other people that I think most ordinary voters may not have heard of. So literally God says Trump's going to win. Yeah, he's not going to win the black vote. Look, he's going to get some supporters new. That's good. black turnout for Biden. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. Sam Madsen said, why didn't the electors want to primary Reeves if they want? Exactly. That's what I have to say. I mean, I actually said this multiple times last year when I knew Reeves was going to be in a little bit of trouble. And it's like, yeah, well, they don't want to primary this guy who's unpopular because he's an establishmentarian Republican, and that's the Republican they like. And it's not like he's in a state like, let's say, Connecticut, or even like a state that's a swing state. Like, it's not even like he's governor of Nevada or New Hampshire. He's governor of Mississippi, and the guy's unpopular. You gotta at least try. They could have probably successfully primaried him out if they had a challenger at the time. And honestly, a lot of his underperformance is people didn't like the flag thing either. A lot of Republicans don't really like Reeves in the state that like Trump because of the whole flag ordeal. He promised, I wouldn't change the flag to appease the woke mob. He changed the flag to appease the woke mob. They don't like him. Wow. Imagine my shock about that situation. Let's see. Jared the American says, how many electoral votes does Trump Carson get? I don't think the VP makes much of a difference. I really don't. I think that it would just be whatever you predict Trump at. I don't think Carson's too much of a liability. I also don't think that he's going to be the choice. Shout out to Leon Alfaro for becoming a member. Scott Hammond says, how do Republicans win the argument on abortion? I'm thinking Trump Tucker 24 thoughts. Well, the answer is in the next super chat. I think Kari Lake has the right messaging. And Republicans in the pro-life movement need to change the approach, saying we're going to go out there with a ban. That's scary. It's a scary word. And the left doesn't use scary words if they're trying to make a policy. They don't call themselves pro-abortion or pro-death. They call themselves pro-choice. And we know what the choice is, but they sugarcoat everything. So it's like common sense second and third trimester restrictions, I think, is a good start in some of these more local races. I think the national level, Lake has the right answer. You need policies that lower the number of abortions, because if you run on, we're going to ban abortion, no exceptions, like, okay, I don't disagree with that take, but the problem is that the average American, they're not ready for that. But if you run on that, whether it's the right thing to do or not, you're going to lose. And then the left's going to take full power, trifecta. You'd have more abortions everywhere. Abortion on demand, abortion clinics popping up in your basement without your consent. Not literally, but you get the point. And it's like, yeah, they got to do better on messaging. And the pro-life movement, what's happened to them lately? I mean, they used to have fire in them registering voters back when abortion was a more an issue that more Republicans voted on. Now the pendulum has shifted on that topic, and they're kind of in a little bit of disarray of where to go from here, because the big goal was we're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. I don't think that's as unpopular as some people may think it is. I think it's what's happened after, and the positions and the way Republicans have been very incoherent and flopping around all over the place, that's kind of turned off a lot of voters on it. So, and that was the next super chat. That, yeah, I agree. Lake has the best messaging, whether people like Lake or not. I mean, a lot of people are coming aboard. I think they will. I mean, she's going to probably be the nominee. And Sinema is a Democrat. She has an I next to her name. She votes with Biden 100% of the time. And you could say, well, she's diluted some of his agenda. It's like, his agenda sucks. The agenda that's passed through sucks. Oh, it could be worse is not an argument. You need somebody who's going to oppose all of it. Oppose all the bad stuff. Kari Lake will. And hopefully she won't be opposing Biden's agenda, because Biden won't even be there by the time she gets there. Hopefully. Nick the Enlightened says, I think black turnout's just going to be awful next year, which will artificially inflate Trump's overall percentage of the black vote rather than get him. Yeah, I agree. But it's still a good thing. It's still a net positive. I mean, there is this pendulum shift. It happened mainly, I think, after Trump left. The whole Blexit thing was AstroTurf. But you are seeing a little bit gains here and there after Trump's out of the picture. I mean, even in the midterms, the black percentage that Republicans got across the board was relatively respectable. It was like in the mid-teens. You don't really see that a whole lot. But when I'm not saying Trump's going to gain a large percentage of black voters, you have to cave and pander to these BLM activists, because that was what Trump did in 2020. And I think any gains he made with black voters were in spite of that, not because of that. And that's what some people need to understand. Mike M says, what are your thoughts on advertisers leaving Twitter and Elon Musk telling them to go F themselves? Well, I think Elon was right. Elon was right. I've been skeptical of Elon. I think Twitter is a much better place, or X is a much better place than it was back in the day, a year ago. Do I think it's perfect? No. But is it a lot better? Is it a lot more of a free speech platform? Yeah, absolutely. It's not perfect, like I said. And that's another thing. You have all these people. Elon's now saying, because Elon was always never Trump. He was never going to support Trump. Now he's saying he's never going to support Biden. He's open to Trump. He might not vote for Trump. He might vote for RFK Jr. or one of those other characters out there. It's still a net positive because he voted for Biden in 2020. Even Chris Cuomo came out today and said he is undecided between Trump and Biden, and it sounded more like he was leaning towards Trump. And you see these other people like TDS Deranged, the Rappaport guy. He like always does these rants, and he was like breaking down. He's saying, yeah, well, I'd vote for Trump over Biden. Maybe I'd still hate Trump, but I'd choose him over Biden if he's going to be better or whatever. So you're seeing people that are like TDS ridden from 2020, Democrats that were in Biden's camp. Even the support among those voters, it's loosening a little bit. You're starting to see cracks in the foundation. And if you're seeing it among those crazy people, which are basically paid to shill for Biden, well, you're probably going to see that in the electorate. I could easily buy, Trump is going to make up some ground with voters. Yeah, he's going to win the popular vote. Maybe some of those voters don't vote for Trump. They vote third party. Either way, we'll take it. It's a net positive. They were voting for Biden then. They're not voting for Biden now. Good thing. It's a great thing, actually. Let it happen. Why not? I don't see a problem with it. I don't think anybody should see a problem with it. Let's see. Literally, God says on abortion, do what Van. I didn't fully see that debate, so I'd have to go back and see that. John Waffle says, do you think Israel could influence the outcome of, the conflict in and of itself? Probably not. I don't think so. I think that, I don't know, if you're saying, do they have a preferred candidate? I honestly don't even know who it would be. I think Trump had a good relationship with Netanyahu. Biden, I don't even know what the deal is there. It doesn't. It's not going to be a top issue, even though the conflict is front and center right now. By next year, not saying it's not going to be an issue, but I think it'll be less of an issue. It seems like every other year there's some big conflict that involves the Israeli-Palestine. You see the flames get fanned a little bit more, and whatever happens. It's a war zone over there. And peace, I think, should be the end goal. I think Trump being that negotiator, I think that if anything, he could use foreign policy as a whole to his advantage. Within a week, he says, Ukraine, Russia. It's probably not actually within a week. It's metaphorically. But within his first year, negotiate a deal. Ukraine, Russia, negotiate it. Israel, Palestine, see what you can do. Trump met with the leaders of Israel and Palestine, I think in 2017, and that was huge. Why can't he do it again, come to an agreement? Trump has those skills. Somebody like DeSantis, is he really that much of a negotiator? I don't really see it. But it doesn't matter, because he's gonna have to, he's gonna have to come crawling back too. He signed the pledge. If he doesn't do it, oh, well, his supporters are going to do it anyways because Trump's their second choice, by and large. It's not like they just hate Donald Trump. The DeSantis campaign acknowledges that when they're dunking on Nikki Haley, that a lot of DeSantis's supporters have Trump as their second choice. Trump's got an 80% approval rating in the Republican primary field, and then another 15% are in the somewhat disapproved camp. He's going to get the whole party on board. You see Republicans and including the leaners in the latest Gallup poll, they're at 48. Democrats are at 40. They are dominating right now. They just aren't winning these little elections because they're not able to supercharge turnout. It is a problem that they've had, but it's not going to matter come 2024 as much as people think it will be. So Sam Madsen says, can we primary Mike Simpson? Didn't we try last time? We'll see. I want to do a video on primary targets. All these deep red areas with these weak Republicans, yeah, they need to go. And like I said, benches need to be built for primaries. You're going to need benches in the primary cycle. We need more capable people occupying power in state legislatures, because that's not difficult to attain. It's not whatsoever. You get involved with your state party, you get connected to a couple of donors, you very well could have a seat if you play your cards right. And I think that that's a good stepping stone to get to that level. Maybe you have a presence in an area politically, and then you can actually have enough political clout to go on the offense, to challenge some of these more entrenched individuals. So that's my take on it. I mean, I think that we have to primary out a lot of people, and the people need to be patient. I know that there is this need for instant gratification. We're going to win. Everything's going to be fine. It's not. Trump winning isn't even going to save this country. We know that. I mean, I think we can get a better term than his first term, go from there, move the ball down the field. I think we're better suited with him than some of these other people. You go back to DeSantis. What's the debate? DeSantis or Haley within the nomination? Is that what you want for this party? Is that what you want? You want to choose between those two, or you want to choose between Tucker Carlson and I don't know, J.D. Vance or something. I don't know. Who knows who it's going to be? Maybe we don't even know who the 2028 nominee is just yet. I mean, these are names that are just floated. They're on the bench. They're better, in my opinion, than just a wide variety of the current establishment. I don't think they're perfect, but it is true. The more these younger generations, too, if you're able to connect with them, that's important as well. I mean, the Gen X, they're the big voting bloc now. Used to be the boomers. Gen X is arguably even more conservative, which is a good thing. But you're going to have to go out there and get the Zoomers. You're going to have to go and you're going to have to cater to their interests as well. And a lot of these people like Nikki Haley going out there just trashing Vivek. He's too young, all these young people. It just comes off as off-putting. Yeah, I'm not voting for you. I'm not. I'm voting for Trump. Trump's the guy releasing policy that he claims is going to make, lives easier, revive the American dream. That's what we want. We want a bold vision for this country. We don't want all this, this act here, this was passed here, and this moved the needle on this issue by 0.1%. It's like, okay, that's what we get with DeSantis. DeSantis is half-baked Trump, wannabe Trump. There's another Newsom one-liner that I actually laughed a little bit at, is like, you try to out-Trump Trump, and how's that going for you? It's true. I mean, Newsom's a scumbag. I'm not saying I support Newsom. I'm not rooting for Newsom the way that a Simps may have accused a lot of Trump supporters. It's not like I'm rooting for DeSantis either or cheering him on. I don't like Newsom. And DeSantis, I'm not really the biggest fan of him either, as you know. I don't like the guy as of right now because of what he's doing, because he's delusional. He wants to end the charade. Fine. Maybe I'll say nicer things. I'll say, okay, he bowed out before it got too bad. Hopefully he returns to Florida and fixes the insurance crisis that they're going through. That's the way I see it. You don't see me attacking Youngkin. Youngkin was floated as a contender. He didn't run. I mean, he's smart, did the right thing. Why would he do that? Why would he throw his career away? Now, Youngkin is probably more tied to the establishment than DeSantis on many fronts. But still, I think he's more likable. I think he has more charisma. I think I'd be more threatened by him in a head-to-head. I think he's smarter, too. Universe 7 Scum says, I like Tim Moore, but I'm disgusted how he declared for North Carolina's 14 once it became safe. Just think how powerless outsider candidates would be without Trump. I mean, I guess it's... Yeah, I mean, even beyond that point, it's like you look at the midterms, and that's what you saw. It was a lot of outsiders, and they underperformed everywhere because you don't know how to navigate the political scene in most cases, and they didn't have the big money backing them up, and you saw a lot of them lose. Now they blame Donald Trump for that. Because Trump's toxic. It has nothing to do with Trump or his brand or anything like that. It has a lot to do with the mechanical underlying issues of how midterm and off-year elections work. I mean, you saw a lot of candidates in 2010 lose. Republicans could have had a wider wave. But even then, when you had Tea Party candidates that were somewhat backed by money, like Ron Johnson, he won. I mean, Sharon Angle, party abandoned her, said she was a crazy person. She lost. Now, Delaware was a disaster. You never should have, Republicans never should have nominated O'Donnell. It was a disaster. She ends up voting for Hillary Clinton in 2016. The Republican that was the more establishment guy actually would have been more electable, per se, and he voted for Trump in 2016, and Delaware could have had their own solid senator. So I do think that that's an issue right there, but other than that, it is what it is. With this whole electability thing, I think there's more nuance to it than people think on both sides of the argument, but Trump I also view to be more electable than DeSantis on all fronts, and I think the midterms, how did the half-baked Trumps in the Midwest who ran to the right on all the issues, how did they perform? Not so well. Not so well. So, Real Texan says, I'm surprised Rashida Tlaib's not running for president as an independent. Well, I think she supports Biden. Would Trump do better against her and Biden than he's doing? Yeah, Trump would clean the floor. He would wipe the floor with one of those squad types. Any Republican would. I mean, their policies are just extremely unlikable. Like, all they would have to run on is abortion at that point, which is basically what Democrats are doing now. But Trump neutralizes it. He doesn't say stupid things on those third rail issues. He does have the personal indictments, but they're all manufactured. They are manufactured against him to make him look bad. And even then, they're not even moving the needle. They're just rallying his support base. If Trump goes to jail, I still think he probably finds a way to pull it off. Pardon himself day one, walk out of jail. It'd be one of the greatest moments in not just American history, but history as a whole. I mean, I'll drop everything I'm doing to knock as many doors per day for Trump as I possibly could if that happened. Like, I genuinely think a lot of people in the audience would too. I drop everything for it because that's how motivated I would be to do anything I could do to defeat and crush the system gone rogue. It's true. Sam Madsen says, can we primary Zinke? He's the liability. We could try. I don't know if he's going to be able to get taken down. It would depend on who would challenge him, who would run against him. Like I said, a lot of these people that are like engaged in corruption scandals, they're easier to dispose of, for sure, than a lot of these other people who just happen to have one or two bad votes that might be liabilities. And I think it has to be like a tier list. Yeah, the Mike Simpsons of the world are probably on the A or S tier list, people we need to primary. But then you have people who, are good on some things, disagree on others. They're not like super liabilities though all the time. Trying to think of anyone who may come to mind that I might have some disagreements with, but I'm not gonna try to oust Scott Perry, for example. He's got some votes I disagree with, but it's like, yeah, he's good on most things. I'm not going to try to oust him. And even if there was a better candidate, probably wouldn't have much of a chance. So it's like you look at people like that, or people even in the middle ground between those two. I'm sure there's a lot of examples there. But I think primary challenges are a good thing. Look at Nancy Mace. I mean, she still is awful. But has she been as bad of a representative since she almost lost her primary? No, because primaries whip people into shape. Michael Guest, for example, he had a little bit of a fire lit under him. Now, I think what he did to Michael Cassidy was unforgivable, but his voting record improved vastly since he had a primary challenger. So even just having the threat of a primary challenger can get people to do the right thing. Brian Kemp, for example, he destroyed Purdue in the primary, but he did a lot of good things in 2021 in order to make sure that happened. So, the threat of a primary challenger in the first place, that can be enough to make people say, you know what, it was worth it. It was not all for nothing. John Waffle says, could we primary Kiggins? I don't think we could. Like, that's another example. Her district, I think, is like a lean tilt Biden district. I just don't think she's really capable of losing a primary. I don't think she's all that great, but that's one of those middle ground people where it's like, I'm not going to primary out Mike Garcia if he has a couple bad votes. His district voted for Biden by like 10 plus. It's useless. Now, Don Bacon, yeah, I don't care if he loses. All right, Don Bacon's a disaster. He probably loses in the general with a lot of Republican establishment money thrown his way. I honestly think it'd be better for Republicans to just abandon that seat, primary him out, and then focus on other seats. That's the way I see it. Some people might disagree with me, but I just think he's going to lose. So people asking, would Chip Roy fall in that category? Yeah, we'll look at regular chat now because it's pretty much the end of the stream. But yeah, I mean, Chip Roy, he's like a grandstander. The moral grandstanders, like, they need to possibly go if there's somebody that could take him out. And if there's somebody better than Chip Roy, yeah, why not? Because you have somebody who cries tears for Liz Cheney, counter signals the de facto leader of the party 24/7, not even just legitimate criticism, but like criticism that's dumb. He has TDS. Yeah, I think that probably it's better if he were to go. But if there's a challenger that doesn't have much of a shot, it's like if he wins the primary, it is what it is. But it is, yeah. That's the way I see it. Thoughts on expulsion of Santos? Yeah, it's awful. There's no reason the guy should be expelled. If he should be expelled, half of Congress should be expelled. He's not running for re-election. He's one of the best members, voting record-wise, that Congress has. I think the guy's a little odd, but at the same time, he's an interesting character, and I think that he's like the people's liar. He's the people's corrupt congressman. He lied. Okay. A lot of people lie. I mean, a lot of people in Congress are awful people. I mean, you can look at the state of the country over the past 60 years and you'd be able to deduce that without knowing anything else. But just because you are a liar does not mean that you're worthy of being expelled if you have a Congress full of awful people and liars that are not expelled. I mean, we have people in Congress that have married their brothers to commit immigration fraud. Are they going to be expelled for that? I mean, that's something they lied about something. I mean, that's a pretty awful thing to lie about. Santos saying his ethnicity is slightly different, or he went to this school or didn't go to this school. It's like, okay, the guy's basically become a meme. And I think part of it is generational. I think there is a boomer problem, per se, with some of these principles. And I think that in 30, 40 years' time, a lot of problems in this country very well could end up fixing themselves, which is why a lot of Republicans, they should be targeting younger voters, having messaging for younger voters. They don't do it. They don't want to win. They're lazy. Yeah, it's like, I'm fine. I'm fine with Santos staying for the end of Congress. Yeah, he's a little bit of an interest. Like I said, he's interesting. Interesting individual. The past it is what it is, but there's a lot of liars in Congress. There is, so... Yeah, if he sucked in terms of voting record, I would want him gone, but he doesn't. So, whatever. They eat their own. Let's see. Sam Madsen says, do we get Newhouse this time? I think maybe. I don't know who is going to run in that primary. I think that there's a very good chance Newhouse could go down. Valadeo, probably not. I mean, like, I didn't really think that he would really face a primary challenger in 2022, and Trump didn't endorse him, or primary challenger against him, I should say, because, yeah, the district is what it is. Did he have to vote the way he did on impeachment? No. That was dumb. If he loses, is it the end of the world? No. I'm not going to shed a tear about it, but I don't think that's another example of a primary challenge that's probably not going to go anywhere, for one, and for two, it's like whatever. How do I think about Connecticut generally? I don't think about Connecticut at all. I mean, it's there. It is what it is. That's kind of, I guess, one of my catchphrases, but it's a blue state. It's not really all that movable. So, whatever. Let's see. Newhouse is a rhino outside. Exactly. Newhouse is a rhino outside of impeachment. It's weird what happened to Tom Rice. He had a good voting record, voted to object to 2020, and then impeached Trump. I mean, that's just... and then he lost, like, by the biggest margin. He might have even lost by a wider margin than Liz Cheney. I don't know if it was as bad, but he got in, like, the mid-20s it was embarrassing. It was funny to see him go down the way he did just because of that. And it's like, yeah, some of these people that do one bad thing, they probably should go, because it's like you're just like really making a fool out of yourself. And if there's a better replacement, there's a better replacement. So go put the better replacement in. Why not? Oh, it's in the Cowboys. I saw much of the game. It's more interesting than the debate, but it's like, this is my job, so I had to toggle back and forth. Cowboys won, so I don't know how I feel about it, because I honestly, Seahawks have been really getting under my skin lately, just because of the fact that you had a game where the Lions played them. We scored 45 points, we lost, and then they screw us out of the playoff spot because the refs called the worst game that possibly was ever called in the Seahawks-Rams game, running into the punter because the guy barely grazed his leg. I mean, there's just no way that any of those calls should have been the way they were. Taunting calls. Taunting. Why is even taunting a penalty? Like, it shouldn't be one. They don't let the guys play anymore. This is one of the reasons why the NFL has lost so much standing and revenue. And, you know, part of it is the woke stuff, but the woke stuff extends to the play on the field. It's not what it used to be. And that's an issue. But the Seahawks, I mean, they beat us this year because of the coin flip, because the NFL's overtime rules suck. And it's like, they've just been a thorn in the side of the Lions for quite some time. And hopefully, if we ever meet them in the playoffs, that changes. But yeah, Seahawks, as much as I despise the Cowboys, I can't exactly say it's a bad thing that the Seahawks lost. I hope they both lost, but they didn't. The Seahawks lost. So, yep. Cowboys, I mean, they have a more Republican fan base than Seattle. I guess that's the silver lining. Saw the Rangers won the World Series. The only team that didn't go woke, they won. So, there you go. But I like Chiefs fans a lot. Being in the atmosphere at Arrowhead in the kickoff game for the whole year was an incredible experience. I mean, it felt like a Trump rally, and everyone was wearing red. I mean, the same similar clientele, middle America, and it's like they were pretty chill fans. I don't like the Chiefs. I'm sick and tired of hearing about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all this other stuff, but I don't mind Chiefs fans. Chiefs fans are pretty cool. Besides one guy who threw a temper tantrum because they lost at the end of the game. But, you know, we were surrounded by Lions fans walking out of the stadium. It was a very rare moment seeing one of the more poverty franchises that everyone likes to say just go in, beat the defending champs. Their defense needs work, though. They need a lot of work on defense and stop turning the ball over. Then, yeah, they're gonna have a chance to make a run. I don't feel like they're Super Bowl material just yet, but I feel like they're getting there, and I feel like one good offseason more, young talent develops, maybe fix the defensive schemes, get help for Hutch on the D-line. Lions are going to go out there and possibly create a dynasty, but we really have yet to see. But I don't know. It is what it is. It's the way things are going in politics, and it was a debate night that nobody really cared about. And I can't blame people for caring more about football tonight than the debate, because, yeah, I tell people, like, yeah, I'm not one of those people that hate sports. I'm not one of the people that's like, oh, sports ball bad. And you only have to focus on politics because you want to reach normal people. You're going to have to be a normal person. You're going to have normal hobbies. I do feel like spending 3 hours a day watching a game does not mean that you can't realize America's decline is taking place, because I think most people in the sports community, they're going to be more based on average than your anime fans or your, you know, fans of Marvel movies or video game nerds or whatever. But either way, it's like, I'm not one of those people that says, you know, politics is bad and I only focus on the other stuff. Like, I feel like usually politics is more important. That's why I do politics for a living. You know, sports is like a secondary hobby sort of thing. But in reality, it's like with this debate, yeah, don't care. You want to watch the Cowboys, go watch the Cowboys. You know, even if you're not a Cowboys fan, watch the Thursday night football game. It could be Panthers, Broncos. It could be Panthers, Trying to think of who else is at the bot. Panthers, Patriots. It could be some of the worst teams in football. Cardinals, Patriots. That game would be more worthwhile watching than whatever took place tonight. I will say that. Make no mistake about it. Let's see. My second channel is kind of like a football channel. I'm not going to make a second channel just for it. I use my second channel for pretty much anything. And the first video I posted on it that I've kept up was that one meme about Biden winning Alabama. And then everybody steals the meme. It's all over Instagram. It's getting millions of views. And it's like, I made that. People ripped I don't know if it's possible they came up with the idea before and I just decided to also come up with the idea. But no. No, absolutely not. Opinion on Attorney General Mark Levin, isn't he he's a neocon by and large. He was counter-signaling populism a couple of years ago. He still does it. He's an establishment Republican. He was a never-Trumper I think he still is a never-Trumper for 2024. Like he'll endorse Trump, he'll vote for Trump, but like a lot of these establishment Republicans, we don't need establishment Republicans in Trump's cabinet. We don't. Yeah, he attacked Vance. See, Vance is legit. I know Vance is legit. He's proven himself. The establishment hates the guy. Maybe not as much as they hate Trump, but he's a senator. One senator of one state, but he gets a lot of bad press they give him because they know even though he's more like in tone, he's more, I wouldn't say moderate in tone, but he's like more, he talks, when you hear him talk, it's more like there's more rhetorically advanced. It's more like intellectual stuff, more so than not, but still it doesn't matter. They're afraid at the articulate, rise of the articulate nationalist, populist, you name it, authentic conservatives. So that's what it is. Vance is probably the best senator we have. He's definitely top 2, top 3. I'd say top 1. Maybe that. I hope that changes. I hope there's other people that are good that come to the table, but we'll see. Joe K says if Republicans want to attract younger voters, they need to stop talking about Reagan. He left office before I was born and I'm 32. Well, yeah, I know that's another thing that's 100% accurate. Like the same people that say you're a Trump cultist if you support Trump over DeSantis, they are in the Reagan cult. If you say one bad thing or legitimate criticism of Ronald Reagan, these same people will throw a temper tantrum. They will lash out at you. They will call you a rhino. They will call you a fake conservative. When in reality, were there good things Reagan did? Yeah, he wasn't like this total full-on rhino, but he did a lot of irreparable harm to our country that goes unnoticed because of the Reagan facade. It's true. And it was true that he had a mix of good people in his admin and weak people in his admin, and the weak people took over. It's like, yeah, if it would have been a lot worse if Bush became the nominee, the first Bush in 1980. We're very well aware of that. Or if Ford was the president, Reagan did make the Republican Party. It was more conservative, but his brand of conservatism is largely outdated. I'm not saying there's not elements of it that are not, but I am saying that the lion's share of it is outdated. The DM production says, yo, don't dish on the anime fans or the furries. Well, the furries are easy targets. And it's not that all anime fans happen to be cringe. I'm just saying in general, same people that say, well, you have hobbies outside of politics or whatever. This is bad. This is a distraction. Then they get distracted by obscure drawings that don't really sit well with me personally. I know some people like anime. I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, there's some right-wing anime out there, but there's also a lot of cringe. A lot of the lion's share of anime is indeed cringe. So, yeah, in every single community, you have people that tend to be, even like the gamer community, you have the liberals, you have the conservatives. It's the same thing. But go to the NFL comment section on Instagram. Anytime they post anything that's woke, they get completely lambasted about it. They get completely destroyed by everyone. They get ratioed. Like I got top comment on the Vegas Golden Knights post where they were at the White House with Biden, which again is what it is. I mean, they go to the White House, all NHL teams do it. Trump was there, they'd go. Doesn't really seem to matter. But they got completely destroyed. Every single comment, even like the replies, you go to the replies, you'd expect like some Biden defenders there or Trump haters. There were none. There were absolutely none. So that's just one example of some communities are a little bit more base than people give them credit for. Yeah, they're normie, but most people are normies, and you do have to reach those people regardless. So that's kind of the main point I'm trying to say. So, yeah. People who watch anime and play video games are young people yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, still, they're going to have to reach those people too. I'm not saying that. But if you're in the real world and you deal with like actual young conservatives who don't like live online all day, you're going to be dealing with people who probably care more about normal hobbies. They hit the gym. They don't counter signal hitting the gym. They watch the games on Sunday after church and after hitting the gym. Like, that's typically the way it is. You could say, oh, it's a boomer thing. It's like, yeah, no. I mean, some people don't like it. You don't have to like it. I'm not saying you have to have the same hobbies that I have or like the same things that I have. I don't think that wouldn't be normal. That'd be weird. But I'm just saying, oh, well, these people, you can't reach these people. It's like, no. I mean, a lot of normies out there tend to not really be the biggest fans of anime, even in this generation, that tend to be more anti-woke. Because those are the people, yeah, you're going to have to reach them. You're going to have to red pill these people. It's just how it works. And every single generation. So make no mistake about it. Let's see. Favorite Ronald Reagan speech? I honestly don't have one. Because like I said, not from the 1980s. So many people don't get this. They don't understand that Reagan has been dead for the past 19 and a half years. He has not been in power in the past 35, 36 years. So, you see. So it's funny and true. And it's funny because all the people whining about my takes on this issue of the whole like sports thing, they're completely outnumbered by people that are talking about Harrison Butker right now, who, by the way, is based and uses his platform to advance Christianity and things like that. And that's a good thing. I mean, you saw the same thing happen with the whole anti-vax stuff. You saw rise up and people promoting it, and that's a good thing. And people use their platforms. Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, God forbid Aaron Rodgers. But, you're able to flip the script. Yeah, you had a lot of, it was used for the BLM stuff, and that was bad. But if you're able to have people speak up and use their platforms for good things, then I think it's something that you have a lot more people with a lot more leeway because of the community that they're in. A lot of these game developers, you don't see them doing it. You see them get completely like ratioed and boycotted. And yeah, there's some rare exceptions, but still, makes no mistake about it. I think that there's nuance to it. It's not 100% one way or 100% the other way. Let's see. Butker has yet to miss a kick this year. He's on my fantasy team. That's why. I mean, we're winning. We're 8-3, 8-4, about to be 9-4. So that's good. John Waffle says, do you think college football is bad? I don't think college football is bad. I'm just not as big of a fan of it as some people are. Now, college football fans tend to be some of the more right-leaning fans in the entire country. That's why when Trump goes to these games, he is absolutely cheered. South Carolina, he went, but like two people outside the stadium gave him the middle finger. So apparently Team DeSantis was using that to say Trump has lost all of his support. I'd like to see DeSantis go to a football game in South Carolina, and they'll pan the little camera on the Jumbotron or the screen to DeSantis, And he probably is going to get like 2 people that are like enthusiastically cheering in the entire stadium. Some people might clap or whatever, but they wouldn't care. He doesn't bring that cultural icon type of package to the table that Donald Trump does. He doesn't. DM Productions says, not accusing you, but a lot of conservatives attack people who like anime and who are furries. Republicans call people degenerates who enjoy that. If you want to attract the young, don't act like their hobbies are bad. Well, like I said, the amount of people that like anime compared to the people that play fantasy football or hit the gym on a regular basis or play golf or do those things that are called the boomer normie stuff, it's very slim in comparison, as much as people would think. I mean, you think if I go up to people in the gym and I ask them, do you watch anime? Every single person that's there, you probably don't even get 10% that say yes. And even those that say yes, maybe they watched like as a kid, Dragon Ball Z or whatever, which I never watched, but like the amount of people that watch anime, it's not as high of a percentage of the population as you would think. Just like the amount of people that use Reddit, not as high of a percentage as people think. I don't think that every single person who watches anime is a degenerate, but I think a lot of anime has degeneracy and has contributed to degeneracy, and you can't really dispute that if you go through what's exactly in it. A lot of sexual themes that are snuck in here and there. But the furry thing is inherently sexual. And like being attracted to people who put on a fursuit, that's not going to sit well with a lot of people. I mean, people need to understand that. I don't think there's anything right-wing about it. I don't think there's anything conservative about it. I don't think it's necessarily really all that bad. So, really all that good, I should say, or really all that bad to oppose it is what I'm trying to say. So, DM Production says, don't get me started on the litter box hoax. I voted Democrat Wisconsin Assembly because of that. Attacking young people hobbies is attack. I don't even know what that is. I have no idea what that is. But either way, like I said, it's a hobby that is probably, I think that you could attack young people's hobbies while actually appealing to young people. Because there's some people, for example, you have a problem. A lot of people are out of shape. They deep down know it's wrong. A lot of people are in the younger generation, like 85% of young men are watching pornography at least like once a week, sometimes more. It's probably higher than that. And I think a lot of them deep down know it's wrong. So you're going to have to talk to them and communicate with them how we can improve your lives. Why is this exactly a bad thing? And if they're able to do that and use self-improvement to their advantage, that's a more right-wing angle that I think a lot of people can take. And usually as people get encouraged to better their lives, improve themselves, they're going to be more right-wing as a result. They are. So that's just objective reality. People don't have to like it. People don't have to agree, but they should, and they'll eventually agree. So apparently there's a hoax going around that schools had litter boxes in schools for students identify as cats. Well, how would that impact somebody's vote in an assembly election away from the Democrats? I feel like that would be something that the left would be supporting. Obviously, it was a hoax. It wasn't real, but still. Let's see. Vance Masters ticket. Well, Masters isn't elected to anything. And I think that both of them are from the same wing of the party. They have the same level of appeal. I think if Vance is going to be at the top of the ticket, he's probably going to choose a different kind of VP than somebody who is the way it is. And like I said, VP matters a lot less than people think. Trump's VP, I've already accepted the fact, probably not going to be thrilled with it. Just hope it's not Nikki Haley. I don't think it's going to be Nikki Haley because Trump does value loyalty. So, yeah, I mean, we've been live for almost 2 hours, folks. I think we got to end it. We got to end the stream. So, All right, it's been great. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell. I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.